The PGA Tour just witnessed one of the most heartbreaking moments of the entire season. And what happened to Collin Morikawa after just one hole at the Players' Championship has left players, officials, and fans in absolute shock. This wasn't a planned withdrawal or a precautionary decision. This was a nightmare unfolding in real time on golf's biggest stage, a career-threatening injury striking at the worst possible moment, and the image of Morikawa being driven off TPC Sawgrass in a cart is something nobody will forget. What actually happened on that 11th tee that made everything collapse so suddenly? Why are doctors calling this injury timing the cruelest in golf? And could we have just witnessed the moment that derailed Collin Morikawa's entire 2026 season? Let's be brutally honest about the timing here, because that's what makes this situation so devastating and shocking. Collin Morikawa arrived at the Players' Championship this week as one of the hottest players on the entire PGA Tour. He'd won the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am last month for his 7th career Tour victory. He followed that with top 10 finishes at both the Genesis Invitational and Arnold Palmer Invitational. His ball striking was absolutely dialed in. His confidence was sky high. And heading into the Players, golf's unofficial 5th major, Morikawa was listed as one of the pre-tournament favorites alongside Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy. This was supposed to be Collin Morikawa's moment. The Players' Championship at TPC Sawgrass, the PGA Tour's flagship event with a $25 million purse and status that rivals actual majors. The kind of tournament that can define a season and cement a player's legacy among the sport's elite. Morikawa had all the momentum, all the form, and all the expectation pointing toward a massive week. And then, after completing just one hole, it all disappeared in the most brutal way imaginable. Thursday morning started normally for Morikawa. He teed off on the back 9, starting at the par 4 10th hole at TPC Sawgrass. The conditions were perfect, the crowd was energized, and Morikawa looked composed and ready. He played the 10th hole cleanly, making a routine par that suggested he was locked in and ready to compete. Nothing seemed wrong. Nothing indicated what was about to happen. He walked to the 11th tee, the par 5 that's one of the best scoring opportunities on the entire course, a hole where Morikawa would typically be thinking birdie or eagle to jumpstart his round. And then everything collapsed in approximately 10 seconds. Morikawa took a practice swing at the 11th tee, a routine motion he's made tens of thousands of times in his professional career, and mid-swing, something went catastrophically wrong in his back. The immediate reaction told the entire story. Morikawa stopped mid-motion and immediately reached for his lower back with his right arm, his face contorting in pain that was visible even from the gallery behind him. If you're shocked by this devastating injury, smash that like button and subscribe, because what happened next is even more heartbreaking. Morikawa didn't even attempt to hit his tee shot. He didn't try to stretch it out or test whether he could continue. He immediately knew something was seriously wrong. He walked straight to a nearby golf cart, removed his hat, and placed both arms on his head in what looked like a combination of pain management and complete disbelief at what was happening. His caddy stood nearby looking equally stunned, and within minutes, tournament officials and medical personnel arrived to assess the situation. The decision to withdraw came almost immediately. Morikawa was driven off the course in the cart, his tournament over after completing just one hole, and the shock on his face as he left TPC Sawgrass is an image that's already been shared millions of times across every social media platform. This wasn't an athlete making a calculated decision to be cautious. This was someone whose body had betrayed him at the absolute worst moment on the biggest stage, with everything aligned for potential greatness. The injury is being described as a back injury, though specific details about severity, exact location, and recovery timeline haven't been made public yet. But the way it happened, during a simple practice swing rather than under the force and torque of an actual shot, suggests this could be something significant. Muscle strains, disc issues, nerve impingement, all of these are possibilities that could sideline Morikawa for weeks or even months depending on severity. What makes this timing so particularly cruel is where Morikawa was in his season arc. This wasn't a player limping through tournaments trying to find form. This was a 2-time major champion playing the best golf of his entire year, building momentum toward the Masters in April, positioning himself for a massive 2026 campaign. One practice swing just erased all of that instantly. The win at Pebble Beach? Doesn't matter now. The top 10s at Genesis and Bay Hill? Meaningless if he can't compete. Everything he'd built over the past 2 months disappeared in one horrifying moment. The immediate reaction from other players has been supportive but clearly shaken. Multiple tour pros posted messages on social media expressing devastation for Morikawa and hoping for a quick recovery. But you could sense the underlying fear in those messages too. Every professional golfer knows how fragile bodies are, how quickly injuries can derail everything, and how terrifying it is to watch it happen to someone else because it reminds them it could happen to them at any moment. Scottie Scheffler, who's paired in a group that went off shortly after Morikawa withdrew, was asked about it during his post-round interview. His response was genuine and emotional. He said watching Collin have to withdraw like that was gut-wrenching because everyone knows how much work goes into building the kind of form Collin had, and to see it disappear through no fault of his own is one of the worst things that can happen in professional golf. Rory McIlroy, who's dealt with his own injury struggles over the years, posted a message saying his heart goes out to Collin and that back injuries are particularly difficult because they affect every aspect of the golf swing and daily life. The solidarity from fellow players shows how universally devastating this moment feels across the entire tour. What's particularly concerning for Morikawa is the timing relative to the upcoming major championship season. The Masters is just weeks away. If this back injury requires extended rest and rehabilitation, Morikawa could miss Augusta National entirely, robbing him of a chance to compete at the year's first major when his game was peaking. The PGA Championship follows in May, and the US Open comes in June. Depending on injury severity, Morikawa's entire major season could be compromised or lost completely. The financial implications are significant too, though obviously secondary to health concerns. The Players' Championship offered a $4.5 million first-place prize, and Morikawa was positioned as a legitimate contender to win that money. Tour bonuses, FedEx Cup points, world ranking positions, all of it gets affected by extended absence. And while Morikawa has already earned millions in his career and has financial security, missing major earning opportunities still stings. But beyond finances and rankings, the psychological impact of an injury like this can be devastating and long-lasting. Morikawa is going to spend his recovery time wondering if this could happen again, whether his back can handle the repetitive stress of professional golf, whether he needs to change his swing mechanics or training routine to prevent recurrence. That mental burden can be as difficult to overcome as the physical injury itself. Sports medicine experts who've analyzed the footage of Morikawa's injury have offered various theories about what might have happened. Some suggest it could be a muscle strain in his lower back that seized up during the practice swing's rotation. Others speculate about possible disc issues that were aggravated by the twisting motion. Without official medical information, it's all speculation. But the consensus is that any back injury severe enough to force immediate withdrawal is concerning and likely requires significant recovery time. The cruel irony is that practice swings are supposed to be safer than actual shots. There's no ball to compress, no impact shock traveling up through the club, less force and tension throughout the motion. For an injury to occur during a practice swing suggests that either Morikawa's back was already compromised and on the verge of breakdown, or the specific angle and rotation of that particular swing hit some anatomical weakness that couldn't withstand the stress. What happens next for Morikawa will depend entirely on medical evaluation and diagnosis. Best case scenario, it's a minor muscle strain that requires a week or two of rest and treatment before he can resume practice and competition. Worst case scenario, it's a more serious structural issue that requires extended rehab or even surgical intervention that could sideline him for months. The PGA Tour is in shock because this is exactly the kind of moment that reminds everyone how fragile success is in professional golf. Collin Morikawa had everything going right, was playing at an elite level, and in one practice swing saw his entire season potentially derailed. It's brutal, unfair, and absolutely heartbreaking to witness. And the image of him being driven off TPC Sawgrass after just one hole, arms on his head in disbelief, will haunt golf fans until we see him healthy and competing again.